Hi, I'm Kyle. Many of you probably know me from different things, probably mostly because for about 3 years I worked in what was called the cafe as the primary DC Connect trainer back when DC Connect was still fairly young. I teach in the computer programming and analysis program now, full time since 2016, and I want to share some experiences facilitating collaboration among faculty. This is essentially a problem statement. The Intro to Programming course is taught to 3 programs in the IT cluster, which Banner would probably call 8 programs because of the bridge and co-op options. The programmer programs and the computer systems programs are pretty distinct. Among these programs, we have 2 intakes of first-year students, which generally amounts to over 400 students in this course each year with over 10 professors, the overwhelming majority of whom are part-time. Each year, some of these part-time faculty are recurring and pretty self-sufficient, and a few are very new. With the way hiring goes nowadays, very few new part-timers come in without any actual teaching experience. But as an example, we've had a few join us with most of their experience at foreign research universities where the nature of instruction is very different. It also isn't unheard of for us to have first-time lecturers teaching this course with us. If we can integrate these folks and build consistency for our students, we're strengthening our program. Now this slide and the rest of this deck are really in the context of PROG 1205 Intro to Programming, but similar approaches have been used in several of our courses. As another example, I know Stephen Forbes does almost everything discussed here with his first semester database class, DBAS 1201. In my later .NET development courses, there's a much smaller faculty team, so we implement most aspects of this, but not every single thing that I'll discuss here. We're going to talk about everything here in a bit more detail, but in general, here's an outline of the tools and methods we use to collaborate. It's funny to speak about Slack as the old way of doing things because it was super hot just like 3 years ago. But having Microsoft Teams enabled at this institution last year was a total game changer, even regardless of the pandemic. I'm not going to suggest that MS Teams is the best collaboration platform ever, or that it's perfect. But the program and course level teams I work with have reduced the number of tools we use for collaboration from several down to 1 or 2, and we didn't sacrifice very much to do it. Now I'm going to talk about each aspect of collaboration listed here from the bottom up. Starting at the bottom, in fall 2020, I facilitated a startup meeting at the beginning of the fall semester. This isn't a program level meeting, this was a PROG 1205 meeting. This meeting was in the last week before classes, intended for all instructors of this specific course. Now, in a program like Computer Programming and Analysis, you might expect that a course called Intro to Programming might be significant. We really want to set the stage for how important lessons and approaches used in this course are, so we actually discuss briefly how this course informs future courses. During the meeting, I refer to this diagram that was actually created during a mapping session a while ago, just to show the way courses inform each other and how important this foundational course is. When we talk about consistency, we don't want to make it seem like here's a completely canned course and you have to stick to the plan. That's nonsense anyway, because your delivery has to be responsive to the students. Instead, what I like to tell people is, if you're making a substantial change to the content of this course, as we've outlined it, please let the rest of us know. Because if it's a good idea, we want to hear about it. Perhaps there could also be reasons that it's not a very good idea that a less initiated faculty may not have thought of, like accidentally teaching content that is intended for a subsequent course. And that's a thing that certainly happens sometimes. But we frame it positively, as any new ideas from new faculty are generally great to hear. We also talk about dates. This is important because of things like Monday classes, missing both the week 1 Monday and the Thanksgiving Monday. So we plan out how to account for this early. We also discuss some things that are in the outline, like our grading policy and our approach to academic integrity, again, just to ensure our consistency. This is mainly important for those new part-time faculty. If there's still content to build or to review, and this was important for us because there was a significant refresh to PROG 1205 last year, then this meeting is a great time to try and involve everybody. This meeting also presented an opportunity for everyone to ask questions about the course, and there were a ton. We also plan a time during the week when most of us can meet. This is less formal, and some weeks there is just not very much to talk about, and it's either really short or we cancel it. Other times it's really useful to discuss what has worked and what hasn't. We compare notes on academic integrity issues, and generally try to ascertain that we're all feeling prepared. If we end up just chatting about other matters, that's not a bad thing. Having some adult human contact feels pretty great in these times. It's worth a note here to say that as far as we know, nobody is explicitly compensated for a weekly meeting for any given single course. So this meeting is very, very voluntary. Most people who can swing the time for this enjoy this type of thing, but not everyone is going to engage or be able to engage, and you can't really blame anyone for that. These weekly check-in meetings are one of those things that's a bit course-specific for me. In courses I share with just one person, like .NET Development, we don't generally have regular meetings, but we do meet on occasion when the need arises. Via the service desk, we've requested a manually managed DC Connect course, and we have all the professors enrolled in the course. We warn everyone not to modify it, recklessly, and it's a repository of all the course content in a more or less ready-to-go state. Historically, we've called this the master course, but I don't know if perhaps that kind of terminology might be considered offensive. That's something we may want to revisit. I was talking about PROG 1205 having big changes last year. The course was only ready up to week 4 at the start of the fall semester last year. So in our meetings, we said, copy everything through week 4. And then myself and others worked on the content for weeks 5 through 7. And when that was ready, we said on Teams, copy weeks 5 through 7. And so on. And then we were able to copy all of the content as it became available. This worked pretty well. It does work even better if the entire course is in a reasonable state at the start of the semester. When you have a shared course like this, make sure you back it up regularly. It's not terribly uncommon for someone to accidentally wreck the shared course. I've done it myself. The easiest way to back it up is using the sandbox tool to create a new sandbox, give the sandbox course a name including the course code and the current date, and copy the entire contents of this shared course over. Consider doing this after any substantial change. If you'd like to learn more about this process, you can connect with our community of practice on Teams or contact the CTL. I said we used MS Teams for messaging, file sharing, and meetings. Having this DC-endorsed resource has some significant privacy and sharing advantages over other services that you might be mixing and matching, such as Dropbox, Google Drive, Slack, Zoom, Discord, etc. It's also nice to unify those different aspects of collaboration into a single application. The threaded messaging, I can't tell you enough what an advantage that is if you have an active pool of faculty. Sometimes when you're using email or Discord, it can be pretty confusing to follow a conversation, to say nothing of multiple conversations, and to ensure that you've seen all of the information in there. Teams is easily searchable, and it plays nicely with embedded links and uploaded files. Almost anything can copy-paste into it effectively. Now, the threaded messaging that I'm talking about doesn't exist in one-to-one chat in Teams for whatever reason, only an actual team channel. If you're messaging with one other person, it may not be available to you. So what we have is a program-level team, which is also used for program team meetings and curriculum renewal. And within the program-level team, we have private channels for specific courses or course clusters. Stephen Forbes is our program coordinator, and he's considered the team owner of the program-level group. And he can set a channel owner for each channel so that I can go in and add or remove other profs as things change through the semesters if I need to. I've tried a few methods of staying organized in Teams, and this is my favorite, as you don't end up with a huge cluttery wad of different teams for each individual group of people you ever meet with, and any resources prepared will just stay in the team to be shared with any new faculty who end up rotating in each new semester. For effective file sharing, I named the subfolders in my MS Team channels very carefully when collaboration is involved. A good tip is to name a folder after the year or the semester code. Like under NetD, we have subfolders for 2020 for the versions of files created and used last year, and 2021 for the revisions we've made for this year. This is a good organization pattern for file systems anywhere, but it's especially valuable in a persistent environment shared by several users. At this point, you might want me to tell you whether this type of collaboration has been effective or not. I don't know exactly how to measure this, but in general, anecdotally, I would say, yes, this has been effective. Then again, I'm the one promoting this, so perhaps you're better off asking the other PROG 1205 teaching team members. Specific collaboration approaches like this could perhaps make a useful topic for research. In the fall of 2020, when we were substantially refreshing the content of this course, we had significant contributions from various part-time faculty, including Kamaljit Batra, Samson Chung, and Arslan Ali, to build a really rich base of course material. Some people couldn't contribute due to, well, everything right now. But some of these people still participated as an encouraging voice in discussions, and in other cases it was more of a learning experience based on the shared approach to curriculum development and instruction. We did have a couple people who more or less denied collaboration entirely. Keeping in mind this was a pretty large group of faculty, having one or two per semester who just wanted to go it alone isn't that bad. And as far as we know, they were still pretty successful instructors regardless. I will say that teaching a second semester course, it did become pretty clear pretty quickly that some faculty were doing their own thing. And there were some minor but unfortunate gaps from my perception, and that can probably be chalked up to academic freedom, which I certainly wouldn't say is a bad thing. Is there anything I would change about this approach, or any tools I feel I'm missing? Not really. It's pretty great. It would be cool if copying DC Connect course material were a little easier and more consistent. DC Connect's copy components functionality can sometimes be a bit fickle, and is definitely daunting for new professors, but we have great resources on the subject available via CTL. All in all, this was a useful approach that I believe the contributing faculty all felt good about. Those of us who engaged certainly seemed to have positive semesters.